Hey guys, and welcome to the Battle of the Pointiest Ears. On the left-hand side, we have Pantalonade up against the might of ODM's very own Loopy, and it is some elf-on-elf violence. In fact, it's going to be the Wood Elves up against Nagarife, so the High Elf sub-faction, and you know what that means. Oh yes, there is going to be plenty of skirmish and bows afoot today, and these builds are very similar to each other. It's actually pretty kind of funny a little bit there. So, for the forces of the Wood Elves, I'm actually going to pause this one to start with, as it does get underway rather quickly. We have a load of Deepwood scouts dotted through the front line, and this is going to be matched by the High Elves' very own Shadow Walkers. So we have 4 Shadow Walkers in the front. These guys are exclusive to the Nagarife sub-faction. Basically, slightly better Shadow Warriors. Then for the forces of the Wood Elves, we have triple knights, we have 1 wild rider and 2 great stag knights, and for the forces of the High Elves, we have 3 knights. We have dragon princes, and you guessed it, more dragon princes. But this is where the similarities start to fall off a little bit. So the High Elves have 3 infantry troops, it is going to be triple rangers. The Wood Elves have invested far more in their infantry ground force. So you can see we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 units of Eternal Guard assisted by a Spellslinger of Life down here on the ground, and the Wood Elf force shall be led by a Glade Lady, of course, who is certainly the best pick when you're going for a skirmish force, as she comes in with the rather glorious Prey of Anathema, pinning the enemy in place, allowing those Deepwood scouts to really bring the pain. They of course hit far less hard than Way Watchers, but combined with the Prey, they can still certainly get the job done against some of the more tougher targets that the High Elves can bring. But leading the forces of the High Elves with an Archmage of High Magic up in the sky, coming with a Tempest, Soul Quench, and Apotheosis, as well as a useful Armour of the Stars as well. And she's going to start to swoop forward. Of course, neither opponent understands just the hidden threats that each other do kind of bring to the battlefield yet in the Deepwood Scouts and the Shadow Walkers. And you can see that Glade Lady gets definitely close there and takes a big volley to the back of the dome, taking about half health straight out of the gate, followed up with a 1-2 punch there as the Spellslinger of Life also gets clattered there by a Soul Quench. But it's not going to be scot-free here for the High Elves, no sir. Prey of Anathema does go down. The Archmage eats quite a few shots, but a well-placed Armour of the Stars is going to turn her unspottable there, and she can fall back. So certainly round 1 there, coming straight out of the gates, is going to be a big favour of the High Elf forces. Getting the enemy lord down quite low, as well as that Spellslinger as well. But a nice little Earthblood should be able to counteract that at least to a point. Shadow Walkers take massive damage there. They try to nip in and fall back. Probably weren't quite aware of just how many Deepwood scouts they were facing. And this unit gets absolutely obliterated as a load more shots do come in as well. Starting to rain down on the far more expensive Shadow Walkers. Apotheosis has gone down on 1 unit, but the second one has taken quite a pounding. So round 2 does seem to go in the Wood Elf favour here. And yeah, this battle has a lot of back and forth, I can promise you that. Shadow Walkers seem to manage to dodge the remainder of those volleys, and now the Deepwood scouts are taking quite a bit of pounding. A massive clattering Soul Quench comes in. How much damage did that do? It must have been overcast, as the Spellslinger of Life gets eviscerated there in Holy Wrath and Fire. Glade Lady as well taking a decent amount of damage. Both of these foes so far have already used a decent amount of their Winds of Magic solely on healing. 2 overcast ones coming from the Wood Elves, and a couple of Apotheosises as well from the forces of Nagarife. Now the Wood Elves, in my opinion here, need to get aggressive. They have the advantage of the foot troops here in the form of the Eternal Guard. Get here, shut down the Rangers, finish them off, and slowly push the Shadow Walkers back time and time again, because you have the ability here to really dominate the battlefield. It looks like they're slowly going to be working on that, trying to rearrange their force to try to get the upper hand, but of course neither opponent ever really knows where the enemy range power is going to be. Now, a load of shots do swoop in, going to be aiming at the Rangers this time, who really don't have much armor whatsoever, but they do have a nice spread out formation, so they are enabled there to not take too much damage on the approach, and good micromanagement by Loopy there, pulling back his Rangers so they only lose 1 model. The Archmage in the sky has popped Book of Hoeth as well as Arcane Conduit to try and get some of that magic back, which she has already had to use here on simple heals and Soul Quenches. Deepwood Scouts continue to rain shots in. It looks like the Rangers this time aren't able to juke quite as effectively, still only losing 1 model though, and that pesky Archmage once again comes with a lovely strike. You can see the Spellslinger as well as the Glade Lady already getting relatively close to their healing cap. That is really bad news for the Wood Elf forces. The Archmage swoops under some bow shots there, just surveying the battlefield all round. Looks like Armour of Stars has been popped. That's going to enable her to get a little bit close and try to spot out the Deepwood Scouts for those Shadow Walkers to bring the pain to. Looks like Dragon Princes are getting a little bit cheeky here, getting quite close to the enemy. And for their troubles. Take a load of arrows to the back of the domes, drop in 4 models, and they're very quickly going to have to fall back. On the far side as well, Dragon Princes toying around with some great Stag Knights, who again, very aggressive now, bounding across the battlefield. These guys have some really cool models, but they themselves are then going to decide, you know what, we're going to fall back, hide behind our shield wall of Eternal Guard, and allow our infantry to push forward, because if the High Elf player starts wasting ammunition on the Eternal Guard, the Wood Elf player will be absolutely buzzing with that, because the Eternal Guard aren't here to win the battle, but here to absorb damage and push the enemy skirmish force back. Deepwood Scouts do take a massive volley to the back of the head there as well. Lots of shots in the rear as units try to get out of position, but the keen-eyed Elvish archers do seem to be able to land those shots despite good micromanagement so far by both players. Now, the Eternal Guard, again, very aggressive. We do see I think it's like the 4th or 5th apotheosis already of the game on that Archmage of High Magic, as the Eternal Guard continue to push, supported though by the Wild Riders. And if they can take a fight with the Dragon Princes in the trees, that would be a brilliant fight for the Wood Elves to take there. Of course, in the name Wood Elves, they fight much better in trees than other folk. Eternal Guard are going to surround these rangers here and be able to catch them in place. It looks like the Wild Riders as well as the Great Stags are contemplating coming in for a rear attack here, but the Dragon Princes themselves have plans for hammer and anvil tactics, but they have an uphill charge that is certainly going to go far less well for them than it will the Great Stags, although the Great Stags decide instead to hop on top of the Rangers as the Dragon Princes do a rather well-timed retreat there, trying to fall back from the enemy pressure. Deepwood Scouts are going to be focusing down. It looks like the Dragon Princes, nope, the Rangers in fact, which isn't a bad target, but yeah, a lot more of the Scouts are now getting their eyes set on those Dragon Princes. Taking away the enemy mobility could be the key to victory for both of these guys here today. Wild Riders fall back. They've taken quite a pounding here. Likewise have the Great Stag Knights, though they haven't taken too much damage in their retreat. And the Dragon Princes get hit by yet another apotheosis. Rangers are engaged in combat. On paper, of course, they're going to be able to destroy the Eternal Guard, but they have far less support here in terms of the infantry, as well as the cavalry presence at the moment. Double Dragon Princes do slam into the enemy and rather quickly try to retreat, but it's going to be followed up by the Great Stag Knights on both sides. Nice little core has a kind of snuck its way around the flank here for the Wood Elves in the form of the Glade Lady, the Spell Singer, as well as one unit of the Great Stags. They need to be careful though. If the Great Stags do fall back too far, the Archmage could certainly swoop down there and dish out the pain and damage. The Dragon Princes, again, going to continue to do that fight and retreat, trying to get ink and milk as much damage value out of these Shadow Walkers as possible. You can see the Great Stag Knights are having to fall back, but this is a fight in the trees. They are outnumbered 2-1, however, but with support of Eternal Guard, it might have been worth turning around there and engaging the Dragon Princes in hand-to-hand combat, as Wood Elves have done a really good job of pushing the High Elves into this corner of the map. There is nowhere for Loopy to run, although he's a very good skirmish player, so even if you force him into the corner, he tends to have one or two trapdoors hidden at the back of the map, and he can pop up wherever you least expect it. Wild Riders are going to clatter into some Shadow Walkers, but unfortunately they take a massive volley to the face, but finally they do manage to hop down on top of those squishy skirmish core. Dragon Princes attempt to save them, but then in come the Great Stag Knights, following up and assisting their allies there. The Archmage may even dive down to try to help out here. It looks like we are going to get an Earthblood. The Great Stag Knight's going to take a secondary charge from the Dragon Princes. But while this is going on, more Stags are starting to decimate Shadow Walkers, and the infantry fight has been well and truly won by the Wood Elf forces. Still a very close game. The Shadow Walkers are looking a little bit more under the weather, I would say, than the Deepwood Scouts, but they do possess more ammunition, which is quite huge. We see a lovely Prayer of Enough Raymer here being used to stop these Dragon Princes from running away. I think one unit is almost dead already, and the second one now is pinned in place up against the Great Stags, although the Spellsinger Life has been dealt with by the Archmage, proving who is the dominant spellcaster on the battlefield. Dragon Princes are taking a decent amount of damage from the Deepwood Scouts. You can see some arrows flying high up over the trees and falling down. Still pretty accurate, I suppose that's what you get with the Wood Elves. Although the Glade Lady does stand alone, some Eternal Guard are starting to swoop in, and if they can force off both the Dragon Princes, that would be a good trade for that unit of Great Stag Knights. In the back lines, Eternal Guard are consistently putting pressure onto the Shadow Walkers, and it looks like the Great Stags have managed to get into the back line at least a little bit, but there are some Dragon Princes back here trying to take out the Wood Elf mobility, which is certainly a good way to go because Rangers are falling back, Shadow Walkers are wavering as well, and the Deepwood Scouts are helping to drag down these Dragon Princes. The Archmage does manage to get back up into the sky though, which is certainly good news for her because she does not want to be surrounded by these Eternal Guard for a length of time, or at least a long length of time. Glade Lady is simply vibing at the moment. Probably wants to use up her ammunition. It looks like she's got still full ammo, basically. Maybe she's all taken off fire at will, but popping some shots up at the Archmage certainly wouldn't be the worst idea in the world. Tunnel Guard are engaged with Dragon Princes at the moment, trying their best to drag them down, but you can see they're never sticking in one place too long, constantly bouncing it back and forth, left and right, over and over. However, they're getting very low HP-wise. Speaking of very low, though, the Great Stag Knights themselves, down to half models and way below half HP, do take a big volley there. Nice little work, though, little footwork by the Great Stags to try to avoid the worst of the damage, but now they're going to be charging headlong towards the Shadow Walkers. I don't think that tactic is going to go quite so well. And a couple already get dragged down, as well as the Archmage swooping in. The Great Stags aren't going to be having a great day. Dragon Princes do get pinned in with a Prey of Enough Raymer. Really good users of the Prey so far by the Wood Elves, and now the Eternal Guard will be able to get in here, and this is a dead unit for sure. More Dragon Princes attempt to come to their aid, as Deepwood Scouts are forced to move into hand-to-hand combat, whipping out those swords, going toe-to-toe with these mighty knights. I don't know how well that's going to go for the Deepwood Scouts, but it seems like I may be mistaken because the Dragon Princes are really getting slaughtered at the moment. Archmage is going to come in for an assassination attempt on the Glade Lady, which is a fantastic choice. It is a little risky because there's a load of Eternal Guard nearby, but the Wood Elf Lord is going to be going down here, and with that, the balance of power moves massively in favour of the High Elf forces. As the Glade Lady, will she rally? Nope, she trots off to the woods in the distance to hide and lick her wounds. Shadow Walkers are going to be getting engaged in combat with the Deepwood Scouts, but they've got a little bit of ammo left, so they can certainly move back, do some 360 no-scopes, and get that value where possible. Plus, there still is the presence of the Archmage, of course. More ammo shots are laced in here. Looks like the Eternal Guard are the focus of attention, which of course is the right move here, as the Deepwood Scouts are going to be nowhere near as effective in combat as their Spear Elven Brevers there. Deepwood Scouts, yeah, just getting volleyed to pieces at this moment. I think it might be all over. I don't want to call it too early because there still is 50 Eternal Guard in the distance, and if they're able to surround the Archmage, they really could drag her down, but Shadow Walkers really are no slouches in combat, and it looks like it should be a valiant defeat for the forces of the Wood Elves. A really well-played fight, though. That was a long, drawn-out, terrifying start to the battle. Both players trying to nip in and take little quick jabs before moving back to the safety of their own battle lines. I do like the aggression that the Wood Elves started to come with in the middle part of the battle, but by that point, the High Elves had already taken one or two more nicks off of the Wood Elves than they had received themselves, because although the Wood Elves had generally better healing, they lost the Spell Singer, the Glade Lady got very close to a healing cap, and that allowed the Archmage to bully them in the later stages of the game. Well played, though, to Pantalonade as well as the mighty Loopy here of ODM. Really fantastic showing by both these guys and a very enjoyable battle. We will look through the damage dealt and damage value of all of these units in just a second, but if you guys enjoyed this one, make sure to leave a big fat thumbs up, subscribe as well, of course. Why haven't you already? We do ducks here, we do Warhammer videos every single day, as well as 2 to 3 to 4, sometimes even live streams a week, so keep up to date with that. Feel free to comment down below as well of what you thought of the battle. Who did you think was going to win between the mighty Shadow Walkers or the more numerous Deepwood Scouts? And yeah, what did you think of the battle overall? Or simply yell quack. I really do generally enjoy reading through all the comments. They really do inspire me to keep doing this, and it's good to know people are enjoying what you're putting out there. There are links down below in the description if you would like to support my channel via Patreon, or if you would like to join my Discord where you can submit replays to me, just like the mighty Panther did here today. So, on to the good stuff. The damage dealt, the damage value, what happened, what went wrong, what went well. Well, the Glade Lady only got 414 damage value. Now, she did seem to take her fire at will off and use up basically no ammunition, so she really needed to be picking apart at that Archmage. Yes, the Archmage can heal, but damage over time really will eventually start to kind of build up, and eventually she will hit her healing cap there. But still, some really lovely praise there by the Glade Lady to pin in particularly the Dragon Princes in the later stages of the game. The Spellsinger Life, unfortunately, just getting sniped out there, and the Eternal Guard, not the greatest damage value for most of them, but I mean, still only 400 damage value, 767 is very impressive, and when they got aggressive, they really started to make up some good value there. Deepwood Scouts, let's see how they performed here. Kill-wise, 22, 24, 18, 30, and 37, so not quite as many kills as some of the big Shadow Walkers over on the other side, but better than some of them as well. 745, 1,000, 698, 905, and 873 damage value. That's some really impressive displays there by the Deepwood Scouts, and I think they are one of those units which should be used a little bit more often. I do obviously have a special place in my heart for the Swift Shiver Shards, though they are not as competitive. Wild Riders did, okay, 680 damage value. I really think at the moment Great Stag Knights are just far superior and always worth kind of investing in instead. But, they are rather swift, got in that back line, but unfortunately dragged down by the rather accurate Shadow Walkers. 940 and 920 damage value on the Great Stags isn't terrible, considering they were going to be taking on Dragon Princes and a lot of long-range pressure from Nagarath. Archmage of High Magic did absolutely amazing. MVP hands down for me. 2.8k damage value from those Soul Quenchers and Assassination attempts, plus the healing she brought to the battlefield. Take a bow, my lady. You did absolutely amazing. 35 kills as well. Rangers across the board got not much damage value done, some okay kills, but of course were overwhelmed eventually by the Wood Elf Infantry. But that was kind of their job, just to hold back the enemy and allow these Shadow Walkers and Dragon Princes to make the enemy pay in blood for every Ranger they kill. As for the Shadow Walkers, this first unit not doing great with only 11 kills, 600 damage value. The other ones, though, 1,000 damage value, 1,000 again, and 1.2. And those guys still had way more ammunition left than the Deepwood Scouts did in the later stages of the battle, so they could have paid even more into that damage value pool there. Dragon Princes did a relatively solid job. This unit was eventually defeated, but not before getting 1.7k damage value, 983 and 736. So one unit doing really well, the others unfortunately being ensnared in those traps set by the Wood Elves and eventually dragged down. Hope you guys enjoyed this one. It was a super fun one to cast. Until next time, peace, peace. And as always, stay awesome.